everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be trying out these watercolor pencils that I recently got from my local Officeworks. Now these are the Born brand watercolor pencils and they are the Officeworks owned brand. And I wanted to test them out as a bit of a affordable art supply challenge slash review. I know I've been doing this quite a bit lately, but honestly I just love discovering hidden gems and helping other artists just to find art supplies that they can use and love without having to break the bank. That's what I like about doing these videos. So you know the drill, let's try out and swatch these bad boys here in my sketchbook and see how they work. I'm having a look at the colors as well as how well I can blend the paints and how vibrant they appear once I activate them with water. So if you're not aware of how watercolor pencils work, basically you just color in as if you're doing normal coloring pencils, but then after that you can actually go in with a paintbrush, and I actually like to use one of those water brushes that hold water in them, and you can go in and basically wet the pencil and it turns into paint. It's actually quite satisfying. And I'm hoping with these pencils they are also satisfying. So as you see now that I've swatched out a few colors, I'm actually going to be adding in a little bit of a test here. As you can see, I've done a subtle test gradient from yellow to red and it goes through to orange. And I've also done a little bit of layering to see how those colors will mix. And then I did a little test, just a little test of like some lily pads to see how it works in a mini artwork. Now I'm just wetting in those swatches now with my paintbrush, and overall not too bad. They don't seem as pigmented as other watercolors that I have used, but I'm not sure if that's just because they are watercolor pencils or maybe because they are affordable watercolor pencils. But regardless, a few of those colors I actually really like. I love the sort of deep pinkish purpley color. It is the most vibrant, as well as the teal. I think that that would be very, very pretty in an artwork. And now here, as you can see, I'm just testing out that gradient, and once I wet the paper, it actually looks very nice. Almost like a little bit of a sunset here. And I tested out the layering sort of one, and I really like the way that the paints sort of reactivate and you can't even really see much of the pencil strokes underneath. So that was quite interesting because it turned into basically a watercolor like swatch instead of like pencils. So yeah, overall these are pretty cute, and I'm curious to see how well they will actually work in a real artwork. So to test these pencils out, I'm going to be using some Artistro watercolor paper here. Watercolor paper is the best thing to use for watercolor and watercolor-like art supplies. And I wanted to do a little bit of a landscape to test this out, and I decided on some little trees, as you can see here, and we have some mountains in the background. And I'm just trying to do like a subtle Bob Rossi kind of style artwork just to test it out and see how these pencils go. Now overall, first impressions, not too bad. I can definitely tell that they are not a huge like artist grade art supply, but the colors do look pretty nice and the pencils are quite nice and sharp, and they don't feel like they break as easily as other pencils that I've used. For the sky, I want to do a little bit of a gradient here, but I decided to go with a gradient from left to right instead of up and down because I feel like that would work better with the space that I have in the sky. Now, as you can see, I also have a little bit of a lake with a bit of sand as well on the edge of the lake, and I just decided to do that because I felt like it was cute and it was an interesting addition, and I could like work on like painting reflections as well because I don't really do that too much. Now I'm actually going in and I'm wetting in the sky with that gradient, and overall not too bad. Obviously it's not massively pigmented, but I did sort of go very lightly with those blues anyways. And once I'm going in now with the trees, I feel like it's definitely reactivating that paint a fair bit with the trees, and I may have to actually go over and add in some more layers to sort of add in more detail. So this is gonna like take a few passes compared to just like one pass, which I normally usually do with watercolors and stuff like that anyways. So yeah. Now I did sort of test them out with drawing with the pencil on wet paper, as you can see, and that definitely adds a lot more darkness and a lot more pigment compared to just drawing on the dry paper, and it gives it a little bit of an interesting effect because it definitely still looks like watercolor, but it's still got that sort of sketchy feel to it, which I actually really like. After I added a few layers of shadows and stuff, I decided I needed to deepen that green a bit more because I feel like it just wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be. So I went in, just added a bit of black onto those trees just to make them a bit darker. After this, I let it dry, and then I wanted to just go in and add some texture onto the grass there, as you can see. And overall, I think that this painting is actually pretty cute. It's nothing fancy, obviously. It's just a little sketch, but I think it turned out all right. Don't go anywhere, we're not finished yet. I've actually decided to do another artwork because I feel like I could test a few more colors and just make this a little bit more interesting and paint something a little bit more up my alley. So I decided to go in, and as you can see, I'm actually going to be testing this out with some of my brush pens because I feel like with these pencils, they probably shine best when you use other art supplies with them, with more of a mixed media feel. You don't really want to limit yourself to one art supply, especially if the art supply is a more affordable type, and you know, maybe you want to add a little bit extra contrast, which is what I wanted to do in this artwork. So as you can see, I've used my brush pens and I've drawn a few little trees at the bottom, as well as a cliff and some trees at the top as well. And as you can see, you can see some birds in the sky, as well as a subtle circle drawn in graphite. And after this, I'm actually going in with my watercolor pencils, and I am adding in some colors here. We have red at the bottom, and then it goes to like a reddy purple, which is the color that I really like in this set. And then it goes off to purple, and then blue, and then to teal. And I really wanted to sort of push those colors, so I tried to layer on as much color as I could and try and layer it a fair bit so that we have a nice smooth gradient. And once you can see that I am wetting the paint, it just looks so vibrant. I really love the reds in this set and the reddish purples as well. They are super vibrant and a little bit surprising actually. Of course, if you're getting more affordable watercolor pencils, they probably will be more vibrant, but I feel like with these sort of watercolor pencils, if you're doing an artwork sort of in this style, I think it turns out better. And as you can see, I've actually used the grey and the black to add a little watercolor-esque moon in the sky, and I just felt like this really sort of helps with this artwork and has a nice bit of contrast and a bit of brightness to it. After this, I actually decided I wanted to add a few lighter patches in the sky, so I dabbed it a little bit with my tissue to sort of take off some of that pigment, and then I added in a few other colors here. As you can see, there's a bit of orange in the red area and a bit of bright green in the teal area. And then after this, since this is a mixed media artwork, I took out some gouache and I painted in some pretty little stars, and I also used my brush pen to add a little bit of detail to that moon. And honestly, this one turned out really cool. I love the way that it looks, and I think these sort of pencils definitely shine when you do a mixed media artwork. But overall, most of the art supplies that I used were affordable anyways. I used affordable brush pens, and I also used the gouache that I got from Kmart, which was only a few dollars. So as you can see, even with cheap art supplies, you can still make great art, and I know I say that quite a lot on my channel, but I really do believe it to be true. And yeah, this one is probably my favorite out of the two that I've done today. So anyways, here are both of the artworks that I made, and I definitely like both, but I feel like the pink and purple sort of sky moon one definitely ends up a little bit better. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below which one of these you like the best, and let me know in the comments below if you have tried out watercolor pencils, whether you've tried fancy smancy ones or, you know, more affordable ones, which I think are both valid. And I think whichever one of those types of art supplies you choose, your art is still valid. And yeah, that's my views on that subject. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Please stay safe out there, and hopefully I shall see you in my next video. Bye everyone.